Hi everyone, welcome back. So today we're going to be focusing on the new controversy by between feminists and then Pastor Adeboye. That's the general overseer of the Redeemed Christian Church. Basically, it's more of a one-sided controversy because the good pastor isn't doing anything about it. He was just wishing his wife happy birthday. That's all he was doing, and then he applied a couple of religious thoughts into the way he appreciated his wife and all those things like that, and feminists came down on him really hard. So actually what happened was that he was trying to congratulate his wife, talking about all the different ways in which the woman has been so helpful to the ministry in different ways and all of those things like that. And despite being a very important person, that the wife still tries everything possible to cook for him, and he's still submissive to him despite being a high profile somebody. You understand that? So that's basically what it's basically the pastor pointing out the humility of his wife. But what the feminists take away from it, the feminists actually took away the fact that he was talking about his wife being submissive. So that was a no-go area for feminists. So that alone was enough for them to get really angry with him. They said that he was trying to perpetuate sexism, that is, belief that women are actually lesser than men and things like that, and also the patriarchy, which is actually this very grand conspiracy that the world is being controlled by men in a way that will disadvantage women and all sorts of things like that. So that's basically what they're trying to say, that he's innocuous. That's that very innocent comment talking about the humility of his wife and how people should try to emulate the humility of his wife if you want your marriage to work out really great. The pastor was just giving an example, just giving an advice out there, and everyone turned it into something crazy. Of course, a lot of people actually came to the rescue of the pastor. A lot of people actually came and started to support him because he wasn't trying to hurt anyone. He's just trying to give advice to people who want to listen to it. So this particular outrage culture on Twitter is very annoying, honestly, for them to do this kind of a thing to this man who wasn't even trying to do anything to them. They just came up on him and attacked him all over again. So now I'm going to be talking about, for the most part, how the feminists are actually wrong on this point. There are a lot of points that makes feminists so wrong on this issue. Again, he was just wishing his wife happy birthday, and then mentioned the humility of the wife and how the wife still makes sure that she's submissive to the husband, with the husband as the head of the family, with the husband as the head of the woman. So you get that. So now that's actually what triggered the feminists. No, I'm going to be talking about all those things. Some of those points I'm going to be mentioning are religious based, and some of them, I think most of them, are actually very secular, those things that common sense should grant you. So I'm not just trying to hide behind some bars of religion or anything like that. I'm trying to give you reasons why all these feminists are actually very wrong on this issue. So now the very first one is that you have to realize that this thing is not about superiority. The issue of the husband being the head of the family, it's not about superiority for the most part. In fact, it's not even about superiority primarily, but it is mainly about the need for a strong leadership in the house. You need a strong leadership. You have to understand that marriage is not just some friendship. It is an institution. It is not just friendship. So you need a strong leadership to be the one setting, for the most part, setting the course of the relationship. You need that. You really do need that. And then you add to the fact that women need that too. And then children also need it, to have that fatherly figure that is in charge, that is able to take things and make sure things are okay. Then you also have to remember that this thing is kind of like you having a strong king or a weak king. You have to know that most people would prefer a strong king to a weak king. Why? It's not because they want. You have to understand, the stronger the king, the more the tendency that the king can be a tyrant. That's the fact. But again, people tend to go for stronger kings because they see the king as a bulwark against any sort of outside threats to them. So who is the man to the family? The man is basically the one in charge of protecting the family, of protecting the children, of protecting the woman from any sort of evil or any sort of assault to the family. Now imagine if anything should happen in the middle of the night, who's going to have to go outside and protect the man? Who's going to have to face any sort of danger? The man. Who is going to have to kill any sort of snakes? The man. Who is going to have to do all those things like that? It's the man, which means there is a whole lot of authority in the hands of the man. So just like the king is the one that would have to declare war or to have to defend the city, to have to take serious decisions to defend the city and to make sure that the people, the inhabitants, the citizenry are protected, which gives him a lot of power. That's the same way this one is too. And this is on a secular level. I'm just talking about the secular level now. But if you're going to be going to the religious level, the problem is that you cannot be a Christian or a Muslim and think that what Pastor ADEBOYE said there is sexist. It's just giving the principles in the Bible. That's basically what he's doing. So if you are a Bible-believing Christian, it is difficult for you to shy away from that. And I have to tell you, I know that so many people now are revising the Bible and the way they translate the Bible or the way they try to interpret the Bible by saying that there are so many progressivism in the Bible and all sorts of things like that. I'm telling you, nobody in the Bible is actually a feminist. I must tell you that those people are not feminists. You think Paul is a feminist? You think Paul is a feminist? Paul is not. There were areas in the Bible where Paul actually mentioned that women should not be allowed to talk in the churches. Now, I understand so many people are trying to interpret it by saying, okay, it's just cultural and he's actually talking to the Corinthians and it's not supposed to be for the general church. But so many of the things that he said in that same chapter, he actually said those things to the entire church. So you take most of the things in the chapter to the entire church and suddenly the part that seems a little bit not so good for you, you cut it out. So honestly, Paul was not a feminist. You think Peter was a feminist? Absolutely not. Most of all those people were not feminists. Doesn't mean that they hated women. It just meant that they understood that there were differences between men and women. And when you needed some sort of forceful things to happen, you needed the men who had forceful wills to do it. Doesn't mean that women couldn't do anything about it. It just meant that you needed more competencies in the aspect of using force, in the aspect of being terribly brave to do things, to let men do it, to let men be in charge of those situations. And then think about the fact that for the most, like many centuries, in fact thousands of years in the past, every single culture in the world, in fact basically every one of them, has decided that the men should be the one in charge, in leadership, in ruling, in all sorts of things like that. Do you think people in those periods were completely stupid? I know it has become fashionable now for us to think that people in the past were just stupid people, cavemen. They didn't know anything. They didn't know how to run societies. But then they were able to live long enough. They were able to survive long enough for us to be here today. They were able to build the big civilizations that we are able to reap from today. Again, just like they said, you think that you're flying because you are in this age, you can see so many technologies and all of those things like that, but you're actually standing on the shoulders of giants, the people who forecasted, the people who actually went to uncharted territories, the people who actually charted the course that you are now following today, the people who actually faced the dangers of the past. But it's very easy for us today to just knock them down and think they're just a bunch of ignoramuses and all of that. But that is not true. So if every single civilization in the past held on to this belief and held on to this, maybe there's just something to it. There might be something to it. Honestly, there could be something to it. So it requires us to be a little bit honest